afternoon, good evening, I guess, to you guys. How we feeling, Niner fans? There's a little bit of information to go over. There's been some news over the last couple of days. I haven't been live, so we're going to talk all about it. So today there was some news, obviously, in 49er land. The big news, the 49ers were almost about to have tight end Brock Wright. Didn't go through. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the 49ers sign a running back today. Maybe they won't draft a running back in the third round like Kyle Shanahan loves to do. But we're going to talk about that and a couple other things because there's been a lot of rumors. Stephon Diggs signed with or he got traded to the Texans. Texans went crazy. They're going crazy this offseason. But what does that mean for the 49ers? Who cares if Stephon Diggs went to the Texans? That doesn't impact us. Kind of has an impact on the 49ers because Brandon Ayuk, right? He's got his contract extension coming up, and now people are starting to report, oh, will they trade him and this and that. This Stephon Diggs trade has an impact on Brandon Ayuk because Stephon Diggs, right? He's 30 years old. He's been a really top receiver in the league. He's been a wide receiver one. You got a second round pick for him, basically. But what about Brandon Ayuk? He's a couple years younger. Was he 4 years younger? He's entering the prime of his career. It's the first time he's going to go get a extension. But he hasn't had that much years in the league compared to Diggs. And is he worth the first round pick, or would he get a second round pick? So a lot of people have been saying, oh, now the Niners definitely going to keep him because Diggs, he netted a second round pick. Brandon Ayuk, no way gets a first round pick based on that. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about everything else under the sun. But before we do, how is everybody doing, man? How are we feeling? How are we doing? My man Steven Reynolds says, what about Frank Gore Jr.? The 49ers not going to draft Frank Gore Jr. now that they got a running back? Let's talk about it. So the 49ers today signed running back Patrick Taylor Jr. And California Man says it's not exactly what I had in mind. Me neither. It wasn't exactly what I had in mind um, in terms of the 49ers and signing, players. We all thought they were going to get a safety the other day. We thought they were going to get, a tight end today. But they went and got a running back. Do they necessarily need a running back? Probably not. You got the best running back in the business. You got Christian McCaffrey. Got a really good backup, Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell, if he could stay healthy. Those are your top three running backs. And then you look at the draft. The 49ers can always draft really late round running backs and this and that. But then you have to look at the 49ers special teams. They've been trying to put an emphasis on special teams, right? And the 49ers, they really haven't had a return man this year because Ray McLeod left. So they don't necessarily have a return guy. I think Patrick Taylor might be the return man. And I see media says, I think Patrick Taylor is going to compete for return man. I agree with this. They changed the kickoff rules, right? The 49ers now definitely need a return man. There's an emphasis on the return game now in the NFL. Special teams, again, the 49ers are trying to get an uplift, a facelift with the special teams game. And I feel like the 49ers are trying to grab players to fit every hole on their position, on their roster, right? They got some defensive linemen, they grabbed some cornerbacks, they added some depth there. And, people are saying, oh, hey, they need this position, they need that position. They forgot we do need a return man. And I think this guy's the perfect player to be, a return man. Maybe he could compete. Now, it's not given that he's just going to be the guy. He's not just going to be handed the position. He's got to earn it, obviously. But will he earn it? I hope so. I don't know. We'll see what he does. But at least now there's going to be some competition. And I think that Taylor is going to be in the mix for the return man game. Because, again, you lose Ray McLeod, you definitely need someone to return kicks. And the way that this new, return game is with the kickoffs and the way that it's so different, you kind of need a guy that's fast and quick and has some, ability to break tackles. And, he didn't get a lot of action in Green Bay, right? Because they have really good running backs over the last couple of years. But he had some talent. I've seen his film. I've seen him play, in bits and pieces here and there. He definitely didn't get a lot of action in Green Bay, but I've seen some film on him again. College, not bad. He's not a bad running back. So I think this is a guy that's young. He doesn't have a lot of miles on his legs in the pros. He's fresh legs. And Kyle Shanahan, you know what he could do with the running back. If Kyle Shanahan thinks you're good enough to play running back for the 49ers, you're probably pretty damn good. That's the way I look at it. So that's it. That's what I think. So that's my take. Again, 49ers, they went and signed Patrick Taylor. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I don't think it was a bad move. It's a low risk move. It's a 1 year contract. It's not like we spend millions of dollars on a guy, on a running back. The Niners have a great running back crew. You add another one, there's some depth. And if there's ever some injuries, a guy can step in. We love Christian McCaffrey. We don't want him to get hurt. We need a backup. Jordan Mason, we love him. Elijah Mitchell, he's solid, but he cannot stay healthy. So now you have another running back to compete and give you some depth. So overall, a decent move. It's not like a needle mover, but it's a decent move there. Now, speaking of decent moves, the 49ers were all set today to get Brock Wright on a contract, and we were waiting. They had until 1 p.m. Pacific, I believe. And the Lions, those damn dirty Lions, man, the damn dirty Lions. I guess they're not dirty. I guess the Niners are the dirty team. Niners were the team trying to poach. They were not able to keep Brock Wright. So the Detroit Lions, they signed the right of refusal, the first right of refusal. What that means is they retain Brock Wright. They matched the deal. The 49ers offered a 3-year, $12 million contract to Brock Wright. It was guaranteed $6 million. And the Lions said, okay, yeah, we got to keep this guy. They want him to be part of their team moving forward. And they retained him. They matched the offer. Again, 3 years, $12 million for $6 million guaranteed. He was a restricted free agent, and they bring him back to the Lions. And the 49ers take an L there. I think it would have been nice to have Brock Wright. I don't think he's like this. Again, he's not like an elite talent, but he's a pretty good, solid tight end, too. George Kittle's getting older. You need another guy to help him out. They haven't really had a good tight end, too. Charlie Warner's a good blocker, but they didn't use him a lot in routes and stuff. And this guy is a very underrated tight end, right? He's going to be backing up Laporta, which he did last year. Laporta's great, but this guy has the yak ability that Kyle Shanahan likes, right? And the 49ers, they didn't retain Ross Dwelly. They haven't brought him back. They didn't re-sign him. So they have two tight ends that are from last year's rookie class, Cameron Latu and Braden Willis. But he really didn't show much promise last year. Latu was hurt. He had a meniscus injury, right? So these two guys have a lot to prove. There's really no tight end depth behind George Kittle. We love George Kittle. He's getting older, though. You need a tight end, too. And I think they felt, okay, this would have been a great, great player to bring in. Give us that veteran tight end, too, behind Kittle and let the youngsters kind of develop. Now they got to go and look for another tight end, maybe in the free agency pool, but there's not many left. And now they definitely have to go and look for a tight end in the draft. That's it, bottom line. So, Lions, they caught us. We tried to catch them. We tried to poach their tight end, and we drove up the price. And if anything, the 49ers drove up the price for Brock Wright. 3 years, $12 million. I think initially the Lions had offered him like a $4 million deal, $3 or $4 million deal. I can't remember exactly, but it wasn't as much as what they had to pay for him today. So the 49ers jumped the price up, and they said, hey, if you want to pay Brock Wright, this is what it's going to take. And they liked him enough to keep him on the roster. And the Lions, see, I think this is another part of that where the Lions were like, we can't lose this guy because they didn't get anything in return. They would have got no compensation, no draft picks if they lost Brock Wright. And I think they really liked him enough to keep him. Obviously, if you're going to pay him $12 million over 3 years, you like him enough to keep him on the team. So it's unfortunate for the 49ers. I really wanted Brock Wright on this team, but they take the L there. So let's take a look. Some of the questions. Steve O says Laporta, Kincaid, Musgrave, Mayer. Lots of studs last year. Hopefully we can find a guy like that. Yeah, last year's tight end class was fantastic. So the 49ers definitely have to go and get a tight end in this class. And again, you need to give Kittle another guy to take some pressure off him. And not only that, Kittle's he's 30, 31 years old. He's getting up there. How many more years does he have at the top, right? And he's breaking down. He plays his ass off. He plays so fast paced. He plays so physical. He takes a beating. And you need to make sure that George Kittle has um, some help out there, right? He needs to have some help. And I think getting a nice tight end in this draft would be fantastic. There are some really good tight ends. Last year, there was some excellent tight ends, like my man Steve-O said, in the draft. So I feel like the 49ers could go get a young tight end, but it's not guaranteed. They did draft 2 tight ends last year, and they just haven't panned out. So I think they wanted a veteran so those 2 younger guys can still continue to develop. It just didn't help, it just didn't go the way they wanted to. But they do have 2 young guys, and hopefully they take that leap year, that year 2 leap. But I'm not gonna hold my breath that they're gonna, jump out the screen and be what we looking for. Again, Brock Wright, he's proven that he could play pretty well. He's a good blocker, but he's shown he has 7 touchdowns in his 3 years career. Like he's a yak guy. He has over 315 yards of yards after catch. Like this is the perfect. He would have been the perfect understudy under George Kittle. Like I really think that he could have been the great. Like George Kittle could have been a really good mentor for him. But we'll see. It is what it is. We didn't get him. Brock Wright sticks to the Detroit Lions. Hey, but again, as I said, the 49ers drove up the price. At least we made them pay more than they needed to. Steven Reynolds is maybe a draft a tight end in fourth round. I could see them doing it. I could see the 49ers taking a tight end somewhat early in the middle rounds or whatnot in the draft. But if they do, that really makes the Cameron Latu draft pick last year look bad. But hey, you're gonna gamble. The draft is a gamble. It's a gamble. It's a crapshoot. Crapshoot. You're not gonna hit on everybody. So it is definitely one of those things where sometimes you have to keep drafting players in the same position until you hit. I mean, George Kittle was a fifth round tight end. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw him coming and becoming a star. You just never know. But we'll see how it goes. My man Julius Callaway says, Are you drafting Brock Bowers if he somehow falls to 31? Not going to happen, by the way. But if Brock Bowers, probably the best tight end in this draft class, he's a stud. If he's 31, if he's there, you take him. If he's the best available player, you're damn right. You might have to. Can you imagine Brock Bowers, George Kittle? Like, I'd be hard. It'd be hard for me to pass on him. I know the Niners need an offensive lineman. I know they need to upgrade that right tackle spot, but man, imagine Brock Bowers sitting right there. I don't think it's gonna happen, but if he's sitting right there, ooh, that's tempting. That's tempting. It's tempting. Steve-O says, 100% Julius, but I think the Chargers are taking Brock Bowers. Ooh, I could see the Chargers taking Bowers. I could see it. He'll definitely be gone in the top 15. If he's not, that's crazy. My man Rashad says the draft is taking too long and August is taking too long. I know, man. Just counting down the days. Luckily, the draft is a couple of weeks away, but it does still seem too far away. I agree, man. This offseason just, it's so slow. I wish it was faster. I say that every offseason, but then the season goes by in a blur. Like, boom. As soon as week one hits, it's just like, boom, boom. And then you're at the end of it and you're like, whoa, how? It's like you blink and you miss it. The off season is not like that. So, Peter Rao says, "Do you think Debo will return kicks?" I think they're trying to make it so he doesn't have to. I mean, I think he could. I think he's really electric, and I think in the new kickoff return, you know, formation, the new foundation of this kickoff return system, I think he could do well. But I don't think you want him to. You want to save him. You want him to not get hurt. You want him to stay healthy because those kick returns, regardless, it takes a beating. You take extra hits, and you don't want to expose one of your top players in returning kicks. I'm sure he could do great. Him and CMC would be fantastic kick returners. But you want to make sure you get an actual guy that's specifically for kick return because that's his job. Because if he has to do that, plus, play receiver, running back on the offense, that's just a lot of snaps, a lot of carries, and that's how your body gets worn down. And we know Debo, he plays very physical, so you don't want him to play kick return. I don't think so. I don't think so. Um, I don't think it's going to happen. So, do you think we can make back-to-back Super Bowl appearance? This is Baby Radiance. Um, I think it's possible, but it's not going to be easy. Getting back to the Super Bowl, man, it's not easy. Debo Samuel said it a couple weeks ago. He said he talked about how it took him 4 years to get to that point. It took him 4 years, guys. It's not easy. You know what I mean? So we'll see, man. I think they have the chance. They still have a hell of a roster. They still got one of the best offenses in the league. You still got pretty much the same offense that got you to where the Super Bowl. You have the defense is pretty much returning. They got a few new players. You lose Armstead, but you grab some really solid D linemen. I think they upgraded at edge. They got Leonard Floyd. I think they have the talent. They still have the same coaching staff for the most part. You got rid of your DC, but I mean you still have Kyle and his scheme and everything. Brock Purdy should only get better. So I think it's possible. So we'll see. But they got to make sure they keep a guy named Brandon Ayuk, and I think they will. I know there's been a lot of rumors, especially today, that a lot of people have been talking about Obviously, is the Hail Mary. Oh wait, the people have been talking about. Sorry, there's been a lot of people talking about Brandon Ayuk. Will he get traded or not? And this and that. A lot of rumors. And I don't think they're going to trade him. I think they're going to ultimately figure it out. It might take a little time. It's going to take a little while for the 49ers to make that happen, right? Because of the fact of this contract, it doesn't just happen overnight. The money, the languages, and all the underwriting, it takes time to draft that up. I mean, look at Bosa's contract; took him a long time. Debo, Kittle, Warner, took him some time. So I think everybody has to have some patience. But now a lot of people are saying, will they trade him because of the fact, Stephon Diggs was traded today, right? Stephon Diggs was traded today to the Houston Texans. Crazy, but I think like the trade of Diggs to Houston kind of basically, I think it kills the Brandon Ayuk trade rumors down because there's no way the 49ers are going to trade Brandon Ayuk for less than a first round pick, right? Or a top second. I just don't think the value is there because if the 49ers get a late first round pick or early second round pick or middle second round pick, I don't think you're going to get a guy that's good enough to replace Brandon Ayuk. I just don't. And I think the 49ers understand that. They understand his value. And I think that Stephon Diggs trade today basically shuts that down. That's the way I look at it. Um, I just don't think the 49ers were going to want to trade him for anything less than a second. And now today, again, Brandon Ayuk has had 4 seasons in the league. He's been really good. He's gotten better every year, but does the league see him as an elite receiver? It's hard to say. I know we do. I know we see him. We know how good he is, but I don't know how the league values him. That's the thing because the league could say, well, look how the league looks at the 49ers. They look at, oh, Brock Purdy, he's surrounded by all these weapons. They could probably say the same thing for Brandon Ayuk. Oh, well, he's surrounded by Debo and Kittle and CMC, and that makes him better. So it's really hard to gauge what the league looks around. And I know Diggs, he's kind of fallen apart over the last year or so. Like he wasn't the elite receiver that he once was, but he was still good. And now he's a good veteran for CJ Stroud and his position. But Brandon Ayuk, 4 years younger, he can make the case. He's 4 years younger. He's hitting the peak of his career. His trajectory is going up. Like this is the time for Brandon Ayuk to be the star. So if you want, you can make the argument and say Brandon Ayuk's definitely worth the first round pick. Like he's developed into one of the top dogs in the league. In my opinion, he's one of the top receivers in the league. But it really depends on the perception from others around the league. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I ultimately don't think Brandon Ayuk gets traded um, by the 49ers. I don't think he gets traded. I think he's going to stick around with um, 49ers and they'll figure it out. I think they know he wants the right value. I think he knows they want to keep him around. It's just going to take some time and we just have to have some patience. That's literally it. Just have some patience, guys. Just got to have some patience. That's it. Patience. It's a virtue. We got to have it. That's literally all it is. So let's see. A couple other stories of the week. Randy Gregory, he got signed by the Buccaneers. This was reported by Jordan Schultz earlier today. He was on the 49ers. They did trade for him, mid-season around that time. They sent a sixth round pick to the Broncos, and they also got a seventh round pick. They won't get a compensatory pick out of this, unfortunately. So the 49ers lose Randy Gregory. They don't get a comp pick, but they did get the seventh round pick that they pick swapped with the Broncos. I mean, he wasn't overly great for the 49ers. He was decent depth. I think he can probably resurrect his career in Tampa Bay, but I don't think it's a huge loss. And again, the 49ers went and signed Leonard Floyd, and I think that was probably the biggest splash of the 49ers offseason was getting Leonard Floyd. And I'm excited about the Leonard Floyd move. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that was a fantastic signing, and I think he's going to be probably one of the best pass rushers we've had on this team outside of Nick Bosa, right? We've been looking for that tight end, for that edge rusher number 2 for years and years, and I think Leonard Floyd is that guy. The 49ers had to bring in guys, Chase Young and Randy Gregory last season because Drake Jackson got hurt and he just wasn't filling his potential. And they also got Austin Bryant, who was hurt, and he didn't really live up to what they expected out of him. But what Chris Kasurek does, he always finds a bunch of guys and he turns them into something. Charles Omenihu, really good. He was a guy that really exceeded expectations. Clelin Ferrell, another guy that exceeded expectations. right? Those are players that the 49ers typically get. And Leonard Floyd has been really good over the last couple of years, 9 sacks a year pretty much. And now the 49ers are bringing him into the team, and he's going to be better than a lot of those other guys that they've brought in over the years. And now with Chris Kasurek, he might go and get 12 sacks this year. So, it sucks. Randy Gregory, a lot of people wanted him to stay, but I don't think it's the end of the world, and I think it's whatever. Good for him. He got signed somewhere. He's been around the league a lot. He is an older guy, so it's not, to me, a huge loss. So that was the other story of the day. And another player that the 49ers did lose that they were interested in was Julian Blackmon. Yesterday, he re-signed with the Colts on a one-year deal. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, they addressed this. They really are hoping that Talanoa Hufanga comes back to his old form, but they're not 100% sure he will be able to. I mean, nobody knows how he's going to be after the torn ACL, right? So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how Talanoa Hufanga comes back, but they're really excited to see him return. We all are. He was a fantastic safety for us when he was here. Became a all-pro player in his second year. And then also Jair Brown. Everybody's excited to see the year 2 leap. I just hope they don't put a lot of stress on him and pressure, but that's the league. There's going to be a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of pressure for him to take that leap this year. He had a really good Super Bowl. He intercepted Patrick Mahomes, so I think the expectations are high for Jair Brown. He was their top rookie they drafted last year. We'll see, but no Julian Blackmon. He ended up going back to the Colts. He did visit with the 49ers, but, I think the 49ers really, really want a safety, but they can't guarantee anybody a starting spot, and that's kind of what's putting them in this weird position. And that's what Lynch and Shanahan said, is that we can't really guarantee that they're going to start. So that's it. That's pretty much all the news today. Again, I just wanted to come in. It was quick, short, to the point, address the information that went down over the last couple of days. I've been busy. I was at a Warriors game yesterday. Big game for the Dubs. Warriors got to keep that 10th spot. Hopefully they can move up a little bit. But, it was fun. We got to see Steph Curry battle Luka Doncic. Guy flops a lot, by the way, but it was a fun game. It's good times. Am I watching WrestleMania this weekend, Julius? Absolutely. WrestleMania 40? You kidding me? It's gonna be cinema. The Rock, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. I wouldn't miss it. This is gonna be a great one. We'll take a couple more questions. Mario Gomez Gonzalez, Stephon Gilmore. There hasn't been any link to the 49ers. The veteran, we'll see. Maybe the 49ers, they reach out to some veterans, but I feel like they've done what they wanted to do. Safety's like the real position that they're looking to get a veteran before the draft, so we'll see. Media says, how would you feel about bringing back Gibson? I love Gibson. If he wants to come back, let him come back. He's a great veteran, and he's a guy that doesn't necessarily have to start. He can really mentor Jair Brown again like he was doing last year. I know the 49ers, they said they'd welcome him back. John Lynch said it himself. He says, I would love to have Deshaun Gibson back. So we shall see, man. Justin Simmons, another guy that was thrown out there. All these safeties the 49ers were interested in, right, a couple weeks ago, according to Mike Silver. But the issue is, again, Steven, they can't guarantee a starting spot for anybody because they're still not sure where Talanoa Hufanga is in his recovery and how much. If they want Talanoa Hufanga to be their starting safety, they just can't guarantee, and they need insurance. But at Justin Simmons, Julian Blackmon, they're not going to sit back and be like, oh, okay, we'll play second fiddle or we'll be an insurance policy. They want to start. They want to be the guy. Talanoa Hufanga is going to be the guy. But just in case we need a, plan B veteran, Justin Simmons isn't going to be a plan B veteran. So, anyways, that's it for today. We're going to keep it short, simple, sweet. Chef's kiss. I love you guys. Have a good rest of your day. Go Niners. We'll see how the rest of the week goes. Bang, bang, Niner gang.